A very good evening and welcome to today's episode of On the Record. My name is Vuyo Mvoko. Well, on the show this evening, the highs and lows of today's sitting as Parliament degenerates into yet another chaotic day.
But I've been in politics for more than 6 decades. I've seen enough to know that a leopard doesn't change its spots.
Today is not a day for political niceties. It is a day for rebutting a very silly motion.
The Honourable President should apologize to the white people of South Africa to say that they have stolen the land.
This kind of
Honourable
thing,
Madisha,
yes,
are you deaf?
ensured that
Honourable
I pass
Madisha, you are out of
HIV and
order.
AIDS.
Honourable Madisha, order. Please use that door and leave the house.
Well, Muslim Maimane, the leader of the official opposition, kicked off the debate. And it was clear from the start that the national legislature was in for another dramatic day.
This is not an easy time in our country. It's the most difficult period we've ever had to endure in the 22 years of the history of our democracy. So many people... Sorry, I can't proceed.
Order. Honourable members, guests in the gallery, honourable guests in the gallery, you are not allowed to do that. You can't sing or participate in the work of Parliament in the first place. You shouldn't do that. You should have been advised that you are not allowed. Honourable members, you are interrupting me. I can't even express my opinions here. You are out of order yourself. Order. Honourable members, order. I'm addressing people in the gallery. I hope you have understood the reasons why it is important that you not do that. Go ahead, Honourable Member.
Sorry, Speaker, I can't proceed.
Proceed, Ned. Proceed.
Racism is evil and we must condemn it. But it cannot be that if you are white and you don't agree with the ANC, you are called a racist. And if you are black, you are called a sellout. These are hateful insults in the context of our history. They are designed to diminish the ANC's opponents. What the ANC doesn't get is that every time it plays the race card and labels its opponents as sellouts, it diminishes in its own stature. How can it be, honourable members, that an organization that produced the likes of Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Nelson Mandela has been reduced to President Zuma? How can that be? In fact, the ANC likes to call us sellouts because they don't see that slowly but surely the people of South Africa are beginning to realize who the real sellouts are. Because in fact, a sellout is a person who puts his interests before the struggle of his people. A person who secures an advantage for himself in other people's suffering. The biggest sellout in our country is none other than President Zuma.
Honourable Maimane, I would like to remind you that the language you are using to describe is, we want to caution you. It's unacceptable language. You know you may not comment in an offensive language to members.
Well, a few speakers later, COPE MP Willie Madisha was shown the door.
The firing of Nene, for example, has added to 3 billion rand to the cost of the servicing the national debt. We have a very serious problem. We have here a president who has been able to stand in front of the court and say, yes, I have raped. Now, what is it
Honorable
that we
Madisha, your
need
time has
to
expired.
take? If the president of a country can stand in court and say,
Honorable
yes,
member,
I have raped,
you are contemptuous
yes,
of the
I've
chair.
done this kind of
Honorable
thing.
Madisha,
Yes,
are you deaf?
ensured that
Honorable
I pass
Madisha, you are out of
HIV and
order.
AIDS. What kind of president is that? If you ask him, he will only say,
Honorable House,
Leave the
Honorable
Madisha.
sit down.
Honorable Madisha, Honorable Madisha, order. Please use that door and leave the house. Leave the house, sir, for defying the chair and the rulings of, for talking for more than 45 seconds beyond your allocated time, and you deliberately did not leave. Use the house and leave, sir. Leave, sir.
Deputy Speaker, I'm not challenging your ruling. I would ask that you check the Hansard, because it would have been virtually impossible for any speaker at the podium to hear you with the caterwailing that was going on for the benches there.
Honorable Madisha, please leave the house. Leave the house, sir.
Deputy Speaker.
I have given reasons. I'm not going to repeat
on
them.
A point of order.
Honorable Michel, take your podium, sir. Order, honorable members. Proceed, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker, I'm asking you before Mr. Honorable Madisha.
No,
leaves
no,
the
you
house.
can't make that decision. You can't make that
There's
decision.
a noise in the house. You have not kept the chair of the house, and you have not maintained order in the house. How is he supposed to hear you?
Honorable member, please take your seat.
You need to make a ruling on this.
I have made a ruling.
But
take
you
your
can't
seat.
send the person out if they can't
Honorable
hear
member.
you. It seems like you are
honorable
scared
member.
of the votes in the house.
I read you a rule earlier on, Rule 51, that says when you contemptuously refuse the authority of the chair, you may be asked to withdraw from the house. So I have done so. Go ahead, Honorable
Deputy
Michel.
Speaker, did he hear
Honorable
you?
Michel.
Because you didn't maintain the rules in the house
Honorable
to get
member.
the Speaker to be heard.
Honorable member, take your seat. Proceed, honorable member.
Well, in between the chaos, opposition MPs, mostly leaders of their respective political parties, did take turns lashing out at the ANC and President Jacob Zuma.
Deputy Speaker, it is hard to avoid a sense of futility about what we're doing here today. Didn't Einstein advise us that madness is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result? Again and again, the ruling party has used its majority to shut down voices of opposition, to protect the president and get his way. We saw it with the secrecy bill, we saw it with the issue on Nkandla, we saw it with every motion of no confidence brought to this House. Long before that, I saw it in the cabinet where an excellent immigration bill was quickly changed by the ruling party. We should not be surprised, because His Excellency President Zuma himself has told us that the majority has more rights than the minority. That, according to the ANC, is the way democracy works. Now, so why today's exercise will achieve anything different? Why would it achieve anything different? There are only two things that give its impetus. The first is that we are morally obliged, of course, to express the concerns of millions of South Africans over the state of leadership in our country. I've been in politics for more than 6 decades. I've seen enough to know that a leopard doesn't change its spots.
South Africans vote for a political party, which in turn appoints a president. It is therefore the duty of the ruling party to ensure that its candidate serves the nation with distinction and in accordance with the oath of office as prescribed in the Constitution. If, as is the case now, their candidate is messing up with the country, the ruling party has a duty to the nation to act decisively in the interest of the country and its people.
The oath of the President determines that he will protect and promote the rights of all the citizens of South Africa. But the Honourable President comes and he says, for him, the ANC is first and then South Africa. That is a contravention of his oath. The Honourable President should apologize to the white people of South Africa to say that they have stolen the land. That is a lie. He is contravening the Constitution, and therefore nobody can have confidence in a president regularly contravening the constitutional obligations of the president.
President Zuma's recklessness with the economy, including the disastrous decision to fire Finance Minister Ntantlanene, has devastated South Africa's economy and employment market. Reports that when Cabinet adjourned on the 9th of December 2015, ministers did not know that their colleague, Mr. Ntantlanene, was going to be axed later that evening was a step in the back of a team the president is expected to confide in. How can they trust a leader who confides in and is influenced by outside forces more than his own team in cabinet?
Let us unite without being rabble-rousers and save the nation from sinking. The only solution, rather than playing party politics, is to go out there and galvanize the voices of the masses of this country to demand an electoral reform where the president will be directly elected by the people, a president who will always be faithful to the Republic of South Africa, who will obey, observe, uphold, and maintain the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. A president who shall be above party politics.
President Zuma took a decision that had dire effects on the stability of our economy, and yet he continues to make careless statements about it. Then the ANC member, President Zuma and the Gupta's brothers, they also continue to bother ANC members. This family is benefiting billions and billions in the government tenders. As the president of the country must reflect honor and dignity, which is something we cannot say without the president. And with this, EPAC is in full support of this motion. Thank you.
Well, after the break, the ANC's rebuttal and the lone opposition party that refused to go with the rest.
How great would it be to have Sia back for this reunion?
He's been traveling Africa for years. He's impossible to get a hold of.
We know what he drinks.
Let's find him.
Yeah!
You think it worked?
Hey, guys!
I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world that I'm coming home.
It all comes together with a castle.
We're heading to a future of cars that will drive themselves, and a place where robots will be doing some of our chores. But the challenge in Africa is to make sure that everyone is part of this new world.
To be behind with technology, it is a challenge for us as offenders.
There are many initiatives to ensure that Africans are truly connected.
We're now giving more access and internet to now the end users.
On Network, we have information on Africa's technology landscape, possibilities for the future, and some great African innovations. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Record, and we're bringing you the highlights of this afternoon's debate of no confidence motion against President Jacob Zuma. Well, the African People's Convention did not support the motion of no confidence on the president. Its leader, Themba Godi, had his reasons.
The APC has no confidence in the DA. Yes, we agree President Zuma must go at the end of his term. We said this before, that the misuse of Section 102, subsection 2, for frivolous motions devalue the debate on such important an issue as a vote of no confidence on the state president. 7 months after the 2014 general elections, well, the majority party can defend its leadership. But what I do want to say is that the APC cannot allow itself to be an instrument in the political program of other parties, especially non-revolutionary parties. We therefore cannot support those who are fundamentally the fetters to African progress.
Well, the ANC's main rebuttal, it would seem, fell on the shoulders of Small Business Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu.
Today is not a day for political niceties. It is a day for rebutting a very silly motion. It makes me, honorable members, remember the most important days of our time, when we used to say, Masia empini, niyabasaba na, asibasabi, siyabafuna. Yes. And Honorable Chairperson, let me cut the chase and get to the point. I am not taking any questions from any of the opposition leaders. Anginaso isikhathi sokudlala. Honorable Deputy President, on this side of the House, we have an army of cadres who carry the legacy of the African National Congress, a history of 82 years of struggle and survival under difficult circumstances, including life and death. 22 years of democracy and governance and the leadership of South Africa. And Honorable Chairperson, the President of the African National Congress is part of those cadres. On this side of the House, Honorable Chairperson, we have an army of cadres committed to defending the ANC and its alliance partners, and that, honorable members, includes its president, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Jacob Zuma. And Honorable Chairperson, he is a president of the very same members of this House who today sit comfortably in their chairs, not knowing how we got to where we are. He is their president too. Honorable Speaker, on the 31st of May 1910, the Union of South Africa was formed between the British and Afrikaners, sealing a pact to co-govern South Africa, excluding the black native majority. That decision shifted the mode of African resistance that had existed for over 250 years before then. It led to the consolidation of resistance forces under the banner of a movement that was to fight for the emancipation of all oppressed people of South Africa. And therefore, in October 1911, Pixley Kaseme wrote a letter published in John Jabavu's Imvo Zabantsundu, calling for the convening of a native national congress to unite Africans and uproot the demon of racism. This set in motion events that culminated in the formation of the African National Congress, an organization we all are proud of. The African National Congress, Honorable Chairperson, has never wavered from this mission in the last 104 years. Honorable Speaker, I cite this history to remind honorable members of the ANC's historic mission. Also to remind honorable members that the ANC has and will always be for the emancipation of Africans and deepening of freedoms for the people of South Africa. The reason why we have this debate today is because we have honorable members in our midst who want to project the African National Congress and its president as not the architects of this freedom. This freedom that you have, you can shout on top of your voices. We stand here to say to you, you like it, you don't like it, we liberated you from your own shackles.
Well, other ANC MPs also weighed in on the DA's insistence earlier that cabinet ministers shouldn't vote and that the voting should be secret.
They want this sitting to vote by secret ballot. This is a dangerous field, for in their desire to spring to, so to speak, some of the ANC members to support them, it may well work in reverse. Before you try to invade the ANC flank, check if your flank is closed. There may well be many disgruntled DA members who may vote with the ANC on this matter. Beware of what you are asking for. In a bigger scheme of things, motion of no confidence is nothing but a mere dress rehearsal to test if the ANC's majority can be shaken.
Under our constitution and the law, the president is elected by the people on the basis of a manifesto put before them. More than 11 million South Africans elected President Jacob Zuma and the ANC and mandated the president and the ANC to collectively govern the country, including the Western Cape.
Honorable Msera, take your seat. Yes, honorable member.
Can I ask a member a question?
Indicate, honorable
No.
Msera. The answer, yeah.
Cabinet ministers are appointed by the president under the constitution and the law. Once appointed, they administer the affairs of the state under the constitution and the law. Cabinet ministers are guided by the cabinet as a collective and decide on the course of action under the constitution and the law. To suggest, as the DA does, that cabinet ministers are conflicted and should not participate in this debate is absurd in the extreme. The section 96(2) quoted by the DA does not relate to the position of the ministers in this house.
So please take your seat. Yes, honorable member.
Will the honourable member take a question as to why he was fired as a chief whip?
No. It is absolutely clear. It is absolutely clear that the DA does not understand the constitution of the Republic. And that's why we need, as a matter of extreme urgency, constitutional literacy classes for the DA.
Well, in case you're wondering where the EFF was, well, they were in Parliament, but they recused themselves from today's debate, saying they would have preferred that this debate take place after that much-awaited Constitutional Court decision. Well, it's time to take a quick ad break. Don't go away.
we're searching for. The guy who steps up, way, way up. The queen of the pop and lock, and whatever this is. The party train conductor, all aboard. The answer is yes, you are that guy, and we salute you, party comrade. Join the movement online.
The public protector Thuli Madonsela had a tough time motivating for a baseline increase of 200 million for her office budget.
We need to have a feel and idea of what types of cases you are handling.
Have we addressed the structural deficiencies that led to procurement irregularities? The answer is yes.
For now, we are in a difficult situation. We are applying austerity measures.
Don't betray your trust to the people of South Africa because you have personal issues with them.
We need to protect the public protector, and unashamedly doing so because she represents the hope of the people of South Africa.
I am leaving this office next year. Treat this office as a constitutional body.
A View from the House, weekdays 2:30 p.m. CAT on SABC News.
Well, the National Assembly was not the only place where President Jacob Zuma also came under focus. The National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA, insists a political motive was the reason the prosecution of President Jacob Zuma was delayed in 2009. However, the authority faced tough questions on its eventual decision to withdraw the charges against the president. A decision that is being reviewed in the North Gauteng High Court following an application by the Democratic Alliance once again. The DA wants the decision by then NPA boss Mokotedi Mshe declared invalid.
I stand before you today to announce the most difficult decision I ever made in my life.
A decision taken after listening to the so-called spy tapes. It has haunted the NPA for 6 years. Finally, the NPA and President Jacob Zuma are answering in court. DA believes that Mshe's decision was unjust and irrational and wants it set aside.
That what appears from this is that the decision of Mr. Mshe was an impulsive decision. It wasn't at that stage a reasoned decision. We would submit it wasn't at that stage a rational decision, backed by any reasons. It was a decision which reflected his own sense of betrayal and anger and outrage over the McCarthy conduct.
The NPA says the tapes show political interference and manipulation in Zuma's prosecution, but the DA insists the timing of the indictment did not affect the strength of the corruption charges against Zuma.
Mr. Mshe, the decision maker, part of the decision maker, well, in fact, the decision maker as far as the discontinuation is concerned, failed to take proper account of or failed to attach sufficient weight to the nature and circumstances of the corruption and related charges.
But the NPA holds a different view. But the NPA faced difficult questions from the panel of judges about whether there was evidence that the alleged political conspiracy involved President Thabo Mbeki.
There's no evidence that President Mbeki himself was conspiratorial in this prosecution. The point is that McCarthy and Nnuka, with or without the assistance of President Mbeki, were proceeding with one agenda and one motive, and that was to try and ensure that President Mbeki was successor to Polokwane. So there's no evidence that President Mbeki was involved in this, but it's what McCarthy was doing.
The DA is hoping to have the 783 charges of corruption, fraud and racketeering against the president reinstated. But in a statement, the presidency has described this as abuse of process by the main opposition to advance a political agenda. The case continues on Wednesday. Manqoba Mchunu, SABC News at the North Gauteng High Court.
While still staying with the courts, and in case you're wondering why your favorite show is taken a bit of a different format today, it's because some of us were in court today. The two men who famously robbed an SABC crew at gunpoint in Middle Park, Johannesburg, have pleaded guilty today. The foreign nationals accosted myself and members and my colleagues while we were setting up for a live crossing outside Mill Park Hospital. The two accused have also been linked to other crimes in the area.
The video that went viral, an SABC journalist and camera crew robbed at gunpoint while setting up for a live crossing. They got away with 4 cell phones, a laptop, a wristwatch and 70 rand. The incident was viewed over 4 million times on YouTube. A year later, the two men who were clearly identified in the clip pleaded guilty. It was revealed in court that they were undocumented. One was meant to have been deported for a past offence. After the incident, other victims also came forward.
I'm hoping that the justice system will send a clear message that crime doesn't pay.
Out of our bad experience came some good, and that other people could identify the same culprits as people who had robbed them before.
This had been a very traumatic experience for my colleagues and I. It also sends a clear message that crime does not pay in South Africa. I mean, we cannot be intimidated and robbed when we're doing our jobs.
Sentencing procedures will continue in the next 2 months. The prosecutors called for harsh punishment.
It is a lesson that we have to give to people out there to say that if you are doing wrong things like that, and we are able to help in a situation where our people are under threat, we will be able to then entrust ourselves in that. And we hope that the public out there will learn from this, not only for the SABC, but for everybody else.
The men have been remanded in custody. The other two accused who bought the stolen goods will be tried separately. Hasina Gori, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, that awkward moment when instead of reporting the news, you are the subject of the news. Time to take another quick ad break. When we return, part 2 of our interview with former Israeli President Shimon Peres. Stay with us.
And I'm production Chetty Miller, SAB Miller, and Anheuser-Busch InBev. It's something that I need to learn to say more often.
Will together produce around 1/3 of the world's beer.
It is a mouthful. Have you ever considered skin bleaching?
Nigeria tops the list of African countries with 77% of its women bleaching their skin. Now I can see that it is not good because it affects my face and some of my body parts.
Thousands of Arab Israelis and Palestinians participated in a big rally.
Flight MH17 was shot down by a Russian-made missile.
How those chips may fall is a prediction best left to the currency of time.
That's Primetime News, Africa Journal, and Your World on SABC News.
Our eyes are the window to the beautiful wonders of the world, but blindness enhances other senses. Technology has made living with blindness easy.
If you look on the side here, it's got like grooves in there. Yeah. So the first one after when it comes together will be 20 Rand, 50 Rand. And if I slide this in, I can see according to the grooves, it's now on 50 Rand.
To Steve Kekana, blindness was never a hindrance, but a blessing.
You got to know that you are the child of the universe, being blind, and you've got the right to be here.
Join your host, Dr. Selom Dawun, every Saturday from 9 a.m.
Well, Zimbabwean politics may never be the same again. That's if Joyce Mujuru, the woman once seen as a successor to President Robert Mugabe, has her way. Today, she launched an opposition party. She announced herself as the president of Zimbabwe People First. She's hoping to succeed where no other opposition has ever been able to do before, in unseating the ruling ZANU-PF party, which has been in power since 1980.
Joyce Mujuru emerged from an 18-month absence to unveil a new political party which will challenge ZANU-PF in the 2018 elections.
Today we confirm our existence, or the existence of a viable, homegrown, inclusive political party.
In the front row, former senior members of ZANU-PF fired alongside her for allegedly trying to topple President Robert Mugabe. The party is fashioning itself as a new entity, promising to restore the aspirations from the 1970s War of Independence.
Today, that unjust system, ZANLA, ZIPRA, and the Zimbabwean masses fought against, remains a noose around our necks, as that system has stolen any hope for the people of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe People First is a dynamic party that embraces the future.
But not everyone believes it can bring change. Until she was fired last year, Mujuru had been a member of cabinet since 1980.
She has been the vice president for the past, for so many years. Now, I don't think she has got something new to offer to Zimbabwe, because what President Mugabe is, that's all she also is. So I don't think there's any difference.
Others believe that her Liberation War credentials will bring the broad-based support from the politically powerful war veterans movement, a constituency that opposed Morgan Tsvangirai.
That is going to work to work very much in her favor, because she commands a lot of respect from the ex-combatants. The ex-combatants, they like her, and she's very nice. She's mature.
People First says it's preparing for its inaugural convention to elect its leadership, vowing that its former ZANU-PF members will not return to the ruling party. Shingai Nyoka, SABC News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, a walk down memory lane. Well, today, in part 2 of our interview with the former Israeli President Shimon Peres, we reflect on his time in politics. I began by asking him what his greatest achievements and failures are. And from me, Vuyo Mvoko, and the rest of the team, that's what we're going to leave you with. Good night.
The answer is the one I shall achieve tomorrow. Because what happened is over, finished. Then they ask me, what is your greatest mistake in life? And the answer is, my dreams were too small. I will recommend to every political leader to dream great. Because there's one mistake in our judgment. We measure very much the natural resources. We ignore the human resources. What makes you and me rich is not the size of the land or the quality of the land, but what we do with ourselves. Our morale, our knowledge, our care for others. So, I don't know if it's a good definition of a politician. I always felt as a human being, never something else. We think that Moses was the first Democrat. Then he said that each of us was born in the image of the Lord, no matter what is your color of the face, or what is your religion, or where are you living. And the moral call was our guide.
But Israel, I mean, the story of that part of the world is a story that continues to be a story of misery for certain people, the Palestinians in particular. When you look back, especially back to the years that you were the head of state, do you look back with pride at what you did? And are you content with what you managed to do? Or do you look back and say, perhaps I could have done a lot better?
Look, you know, we're in the same boat. Africa is the Middle East. We're under empires. You didn't manage your life, we didn't manage our life. The empires really organized the life according to their comfort, not to our needs. The Middle East was for hundreds of years under the empires of the Great Britain, of France, of Germany. They decided about the economy. Israel, I said the Jewish people are 4,000 years old. Israel is only 67 years old. And they organized artificial nations, very much like you too. For example, what's happening in Syria. They didn't follow any tribe tradition, any mentality. They organized so it will be comfortable for them. Now, we didn't have anything to offer, but what we have ourselves. And may I say, people tend to forget it. In spite of the fact that we were attacked, we made peace twice. I'm very proud, and may I say I had a role in it, a major role. With Egypt, the largest Arab country, and with Jordan, the nearest Arab country. After they attacked us, after they lost the war, we gave them back everything we won. The land, the water, the natural resources, nothing, for peace. And then I started also to negotiate with the Palestinians, with Arafat. We worked days and nights. The problem of Arafat, in my judgment, they told him, is that his own people were divided between his group and Hamas. And I told him, my dear friend, if you won't have one rifle, you won't have one nation. And with the Palestinians, it was half. Half of the people we made peace, half of the people we didn't make peace. So there is nothing dearer in our heart than to make peace and to give the Palestinians a land of their own. The two-state solution was accepted, actually initiated by us. But we try hard. It's not simple, as you know. Politics is a very complicated issue.
But when you look back at the Oslo Accords, for example, do you feel that, do you get a sense that you gave, and this is with the benefit of hindsight, do you get a sense that you gave everything you could have given? Because there are people who argue that perhaps you exploited a very vulnerable Yasser Arafat, but never really, not to the extent, or at the end of it all, you never really achieved what you could have achieved given the breakthrough.
You know, this is part of the history. We tried to make peace with the Palestinians and Yasser Arafat. I spent days and days and days. And finally we suggested, you know, let's start with Gaza. We have had settlers in Gaza. We have had settlements in Gaza. We have an army in Gaza. We say, we are leaving all to you. We called back our settlers. We took out our settlements. You know, we have had to mobilize 75,000 policemen to bring them back. We paid for every settler compensation over $4 billion. And we say it's here. But Arafat wasn't in charge already. It was Hamas. And we can't understand, I say it with regret, why after we gave them everything back and they were free, why did they start shooting rockets at our families? Why? Why should they, almost hundreds of thousands of mothers couldn't have a quiet night with their baby? Why? Why terror? They got everything. But, you know, unfortunately, terror was not only at our place. Terror is eating up and burning down the Middle East. Because terrorists think they can achieve something which cannot be achieved by terror, only by peace. You know, they stopped to attack us militarily because they saw they cannot win militarily. Now they start with terror, they'll see with terror too. We are ready, as we promised, to have a two-state solution, to give the Palestinians what is due in accordance with the United Nations. And we are trying to do it to this very day. On that I spend my days and nights, even today.
But you were never helpless victims, you know, who never at any or at some points were the aggressors yourselves.
My dear friend, the State of Israel was established in 1947. You know why? Because it was after the Second World War, where the world recognized that a third of our people were assassinated by Nazis. We didn't suffer. 1.5 million of our babies were born in camps. And some people felt maybe we have to give the Jewish people something of their own. Throughout history, we were victims. 2,000 years we were thrown out of our land. So to tell us we didn't suffer, I think that's wrong. But why do I admire Nelson Mandela? I want to tell you one point people forget. He's the only person on earth in history that created something which is unbelievable. The courts of forgiveness, I don't know what is the official name. He called in people who killed your people, white people that killed black people. And they say, you can't tell the story. Tell the story and I forgive you. It never happened, such a forgiving. And I asked a friend of mine, a South African friend, how did it happen? You know what he told me? Each of us has a small Nelson Mandela in his heart. You have a small Nelson Mandela, maybe a large. So do I. Don't make a mistake.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere. SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide consistent, relevant, useful and top quality information and analysis. Our mission is to provide credible, accurate and interesting news programming, bringing news into everyone's homes in everyone's languages. Thank you, South Africa, for relying on SABC News for quality news output and for making us your #1 source of information. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Technology isn't all scary. There's also fun stuff like gaming.
Lots of women do play games, whether it's on their phones or their tablets.
Then there are Africans who are using new tools to make other people's lives much easier.
We typed the whole CV on a small, QWERTY Nokia phone.
For all these and other technology and social media news, join me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time on SABC News.
Playing for victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back, because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sports action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.